Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc.
Calls for Trinidad and Tobago's Prime Minister to resign and to be investigated after the so-called email gate scandal is labeled a fraud. Our top story in Caribbean Newsline for Wednesday, July 17th. From the CMC News Center in Bridgetown, I'm Dawn Paris. Good evening. The probe into the so-called email gate scandal in Trinidad and Tobago is over, and police say no one will face any charges in the controversy that sought to link former Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar and several senior members of her cabinet to a sinister plot to undermine the judiciary, the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, and the media. In 2013, the then opposition leader, Dr. Keith Rowley, had told Parliament he received a total of 31 emails from a whistleblower purporting to show correspondence between Persad-Bissessar, then Attorney General Anand Ramlogan, Local Government and Works Minister at the time, Suraj Rambachan, and Gary Griffith, who was then Security Advisor, outlining the plot. The ministers, as well as Griffith, who is now the police commissioner, had always denied the allegation. And at a media conference on a Wednesday, Acting Assistant Superintendent of Police Michael Pierre said the evidence was subjected to a two-stage full code test and nothing was found to implicate any of the individuals in criminal activity.
The Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions was not satisfied that a realistic prospect of conviction existed in relation to any identifiable suspect with respect to the offense of misconduct in public office or for any other offenses against the laws of Trinidad and Tobago. In other words, the evidence gathered did not reach the threshold required for any criminal charges to be recommended against any person. This, therefore, brings an end to the investigation.
And Police Commissioner Griffith explained what was found in the probe.
The correspondence that was provided that got in the hands of the then opposition leader, that it was confirmed, obviously, even prior to it being scrutinized by the relevant authorities in outside of Trinidad and Tobago, that there was not legitimate emails. So we would have seen all of the discrepancies that would have taken place. So they were not authentic emails. What was done was to verify if what was put there actually came in on the emails of the accounts of the individuals questioned, but what was actually provided and given, those were never emails.
And on the heels of the announcement that the emails raised in the scandal were fake, the opposition United National Congress, UNC, said Rowley should resign as Prime Minister and leader of the ruling People's National Movement. In a statement, the UNC accused Rowley of piloting the Emailgate affair as a naked power grab. It said that it was, quote, disgraceful that Keith Rowley used the cloak of the Parliament to hoodwink the country for political gain toward the direct purpose of creating a sense of panic and distrust to a sitting government, end quote. It said the Prime Minister has used fraud and deception to gain political points. And speaking on Wednesday afternoon, Persad-Bissessar said Rowley had been swept to power with his lies, and she described his administration as a fake government. And she was satisfied that her name and that of her colleagues had finally been cleared.
We knew these things were false from day one. It took almost 5 years. 5 years to clear your name. 5 years for my name to be cleared together with the other ministers who were said to be involved in a criminal conspiracy, you know, man. It took 5 years to clear my name and that of others. Elections came and went, and they rode into the elections with those lies on our heads. Our names tarnished. It is look how long after that the names are cleared in the same.
And at a press conference, Prasad Basesar's lawyer, senior counsel Israel Khan, called for an investigation into the Prime Minister. He said Rowley's allegations had brought down the government of the day and action must be taken.
This is the first time in the history of the Commonwealth that such a political fraud was perpetrated upon the public. I am now calling upon the Director of Public Prosecution to request that the police set up a team of officers to investigate the now Prime Minister, then leader of the opposition, whether he conspired with person unknown or person known in order to pervert the cause of public justice.
Staying in Trinidad and Tobago, government says despite an upsurge in crime, which includes 9 homicides in the space of 48 hours, the country will not be placed under any state of emergency. National Security Minister Stuart Young says instead the police service will be engaged in more aggressive and sustained policing. TV6's Alicia Boucher reports.
First time was in January. Instructions have been given to police to initiate a squeeze against criminal elements. Expect more joint police and army patrols. But government maintains it will not call a state of emergency, a tactic used by the People's Partnership in August 2011, following 11 murders in 48 hours.
Absolutely not. The government is not looking at state of emergency. It's also a fallacy that you can call limited states of emergencies in certain areas. That doesn't exist in law. You call a state of emergency, it's countrywide.
National Security Minister Stuart Young wants to keep up the pressure.
Every time we have these incidents, so what you would find is when we're putting the pressure on, you see the drop and you see the decrease. As soon as that eases up, you have these sporadic spurts. So what I've asked is we find a way to maintain it for sustainability.
Young notes the murders, except for that of local theatre icon Raymond Chukon, were committed with illegal firearms. He says the bail amendment bill, which is in the Senate, would assist with that if passed. And he urges the public to put more pressure on politicians to ensure that it is. Concerning allegations on a website called Numbio, disseminated by Caroni Central MP Botiwari, the TNT is ranked 6th on the crime index out of 123 countries. The minister is dispelling that as a lie.
And what then started circulating when we did our research is this was actually a trick set up by someone, I think from Sweden, who said, let me utilize the internet and show how I can manipulate the internet and put out false information.
But over in Jamaica, the country could continue to see the use of states of emergency to curtail crime for up to 7 years as the government targets reducing murders to approximately 500 per annum. Prime Minister Andrew Holness gave the timeline as he spoke in the House of Representatives on Tuesday afternoon in the debate to extend the state of emergency in the St. Andrew South Police Division until October 5th. He argued that a state of emergency was the best tool at this time for achieving meaningful reductions in murders.
If we continue to use this strategy in a selective way, give ourselves 5 to 7 years, and we can bring our murder rate down to 16 per 100,000 or 500. And then after that, you would be in a position. Well, we would then, Mr. Speaker, be in a position to now use conventional methods to maintain that and reduce crime.
Opposition leader Dr. Peter Phillips again stressed that a more wholesome crime plan was needed. He called for more resources for groups which are integral in the social intervention process, like the Peace Management Initiative.
And my information is that a good part of the reduction that was sustained in St. Catherine North and in Kingston Central was due to the activities of the Peace Management Initiative, which delivered in these communities.
But for former National Security Minister Peter Bunting, the state of public emergency is but a smokescreen. He again reiterated his view that it's a public relations strategy by the government and called for alternative measures to crime fighting.
Our crime strategy should focus on hot spots, hot people, the violence producers, and hot behavior, wherever there are spikes.
In the end, 44 MPs voted in favor of the SOE extension, 2 voted no, and 17 members were absent.
Caribbean Newsline, Guyana's president finds 4 nominees for the position of Elections Commission chairman not unacceptable. Stay with us.
Dreams will come true only if I put my trust and my focus is on you.
10 years ago, June 19th, 2009, Carib Nation Television, led by the indomitable journalist, I'm not sure you ever met her, Darius Dean, who was at Andrews Air Force Base with us, with the superb brother and friend, Larry Sindus, we captured for posterity the last of those servicemen from the then British West Indies who served in World War II.
Of the 5 people shortlisted for the post of chairman of the Ghana Elections Commission, GCOM, President David Granger has found no issue with 4 of them. He said he and opposition leader Barrett Dagdo met late Tuesday at the Ministry of the Presidency and a broad agreement was reached. In a statement following the meeting, Director General of the Ministry of the Presidency, Joseph Harmon, said the 2 sides agreed that as part of the hammering out process, the 2 names suggested by President Granger and other names as necessary would be discussed further at a meeting that had been scheduled for Wednesday. The President has shortlisted Attorney Cassandra Alves and Justice Claudette LeBennett from a previous list of 8 he had suggested. A working group was established by the President and opposition leader to hammer out a list of 6 persons to be submitted to the President so a new chair can be appointed, but talks between the 2 sides broke down last Thursday.
We have moved forward. The process which the Director General described will move forward tomorrow in that there will be a smaller team. We will not use the same working group. There will be a smaller team which will continue the process of engagement. We have not disengaged, and we are working to have a list which could be sent by the leader of the opposition to the President as early as possible.
The 2 sides were urged by the Caribbean Court of Justice in its June 18th ruling to hammer out a list of names to select a new chairman after it was found that the process used to appoint the previous chairman was flawed. Jamaica's unemployment rate falls and believes sugar producers looking to penetrate the CARICOM market. Marie-Claire Williams has the details in this week's Newsline Business.
The Statistical Institute of Jamaica is reporting the island's unemployment rate is 7.8% as of April this year. It is a 2% drop from the same period last year. According to the latest figures, which were released on Wednesday, a total of 29,900 people have been added to the labor force, mostly men. The jobs are mainly from the construction sector and security forces, the Jamaica Defense Force and the police force. The Belize Sugar Industries Limited is looking to penetrate new markets. Their latest efforts come on the heels of a record sugar crop this year, but the BSI says it is facing some challenges in securing the CARICOM market.
For example, even though under the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas, brown sugar should not be coming in, we see in fact that they're coming in from places like Guatemala, Colombia, and Honduras. We want to correct that within our CARICOM market, and so we're advocating at COTED to have some of those changes.
BSI Communications representative William Neal says there is still a lot more to be done to build the market.
All producers in the Caribbean have traditionally gone to the EU because the prices were so good. But in every other trading bloc, you consume your own sugar, and that's your first market. Without the preferential prices, then it behooves us as a nation to look at that. Otherwise, what are the benefits that we can say that we receive from CARICOM? And market share is one of those things, especially for sugar, for citrus, for so many of our agricultural products.
The West Indies Rum and Spirits Producers Association has signed an agreement with the UWI Open Campus to offer an online certification in rum and spirits production. The agreement was signed in Grenada last week as part of WIRSPA's annual technical meeting, which also discussed responsible drinking, production and quality standards, product labeling, environmental management, and raw material supplies. Mary-Claire Williams, Newsline Business.
Ahead in Newsline Sport, a suggestion that India's tour of the West Indies could be a catalyst for the regional side's rebuilding. We'll tell you who has that view when we return.
Welcome to this year's 50th Caribbean Broadcast Union Assembly on the island of San Andres. San Andres is a small archipelago located in between Jamaica and Panama in the Western Caribbean Sea. A lush, exotic island rich in culture, history, gastronomy, and breathtaking scenic views. Known for its beaches and 7-colored crystalline waters, the island of San Andres will be proudly hosting this year's event. CBU members will enjoy top-of-the-line accommodations for an unforgettable experience in San Andres, connecting Caribbean nations through this year's 50th edition of the CBU Assembly.
Coming up, top draw acts, influential players, all making moves during Caribbean Week New York. A familiar scenario for hotel icon Sir Royston Hopkins. When it comes to Barbados tourism, it's win-win for everyone. Cultural entertainment, fashion, music. It's all next on Caribbean Passport on this station.
An ex-West Indies test batsman believes India's tour of the Caribbean is coming at the right time for the regional side. Speaking with TV6's Vinod Narawani, Brian Davis said he believes the Indian series will act as a catalyst for the team to begin the rebuilding process.
Now that the World Cup is over, the West Indies are preparing for their assignment against India in the Caribbean. The teams play 3 T20s and ODIs, followed by 2 test matches. Former Windies batsman Brian Davis says this is the perfect time to be playing against the team from Asia.
Well, I think it's great to have India come in here, and especially right after the World Cup, when we are still in cricket mode, so to speak. And I think that it could help us start our rebuilding process and get in serious, our coaches in place. And I think that it's a very good timing. So I'm happy to see if India comes here. India is a very powerful team.
There are reports that Indian skipper Virat Kohli and pacer Jasprit Bumrah may miss the entire series, but that's left to be seen. Davis also provides his take on the matter.
Virat Kohli and Bumrah, they are so productive for their teams, and they play in every version of the game, every format. So I believe it could be a little tiring, and they give them a rest for that. I would agree with, but the Indian authorities will know better than I. But I think that I would agree with them by doing that.
And what does Davis think about the Windies' chances against the Indians in all 3 formats?
It depends a lot on what the West Indies team is. I would like to see. I think it depends on that a lot, a great deal, for the T20s and the ODIs. I feel that we could fight up with those 2 formats. But the test matches, I don't think we'll have too much of a chance.
Trinidad and Tobago's Calypso Girls World Cup campaign ended with a defeat by 26 goals at the hands of host England as action in the INF Netball World Cup continued on Wednesday. The Caribbean side was put to the sword despite superb efforts by goal shooter Khalifa McCollin, who scored 26 goals from her 9 attempts. But England maintained their upper hand to win the game 72-42 and seal a spot in the semi-finals. Here are the highlights of the match at the M&S Bank Arena.
Phase contact center.
Lovely play. Just swinging that ball across the circle to open out the angles, hitting top, and Rachel Dunn ready for that pop under the post.
Does seem to be taking England a little bit of time to settle themselves.
Nothing wrong with her. Oh, hello, Helen Housby. Great pass to find Joe Hart and the 1-2 with Jade Clark.
Yes, lovely play. Like that footwork from Helen Housby and also from Joe Hart, and just to wait for it to open up. Lovely from Azura Brown.
'100th cap last time out for Ebony Osoro-Brown. Patient from Jade Clark, just waiting for Joe Hart, and England, there's patience and then there's skill. Joe Harton sets, delivers.
Nothing but net.
Oh, talk about fluid. Liquid gold from Joe Harton, and Housby drops it through.
Nice play.
Wing fence contact, play on, taken.
Done. England are through to the semi-finals of the World Cup. They've beaten Trinidad and Tobago 72-46. This was about the result. This was about combinations. And England had the big old tick next to their name.
Well, the Caribbean side will play Scotland in their final game of the preliminary round. Meanwhile, Scotland's campaign and their chance to finish among the top 8 came to an end after Jamaica bounced back from their first quarter deficit to take command of the remainder of the game, claiming victory by 31 goals.
Jamaica leading 2-1, just a couple of minutes gone of this match. Oh, Claire Maxwell trying to connect, but it's a chance now for Jamaica, taking it down the court with speed into the hands of the goal shooting sensation Janelle Fowler. There's Gail Parata, the head coach of Scotland, a New Zealand silver fern herself, taking charge of Scotland's biggest female team, their netball team.
And what a job she's done too. She's been there for a number of years now and picked them up. Great pass to Gallagher. That's a lift up.
Now looking to make it a 5-goal advantage after being 1 goal down. Shouting on her Sunshine Girls here. Coached them to bronze in 2018 at the Commonwealth Games. And looking for a good display here before they take on Uganda tomorrow. Held high by Fowler and it rolls in.
Again, the 2-on-1 working well. Bit of a reckless feed there from Thomas, but the defensive pressure in the circle good nonetheless. And really good quick transition coming through.
And that is a rare miss there in the goal shooter position. Now Aitken.
Great work with the one hand and the layup.
We love a
Nicely
layup.
done.
We love a layup in the World Cup. Jamaica are going to get their 3rd win of this Netball World Cup. The fans count down the clock. It was a good effort from the Scottish Thistles, but the Sunshine Girls win out. 67-36.
In other news, newly elected chief of the North American, Central American and Caribbean Athletics Confederation, Mike Sands, wants to establish a regional circuit for top athletes to compete. In an interview with ZNS Network Sports, the former Bahamian 400-meter record holder said his administration is prepared to roll out plans for top Caribbean athletes to compete in a regional meet.
Long battle. I mean, the campaign was very intense. It was very personal. When I say personal, my campaign was focused one-on-one. I took the time to speak to every member federation, and my letters were very personal to every member federation. We already had some preliminary discussions with the members-elect, and we're discussing developing a regional circuit. There's been a lot of talk about it, but we have to bring it to fruition because, as you know, I refer to them as the second-tier athletes in that we don't have all the Shanaes and the Stevie Gardners and the Shelley Ann Price Frasers and those persons who will automatically get a lane in the...
And that's the sport. We'll be right back. Again, the major developments of this day calls for Trinidad and Tobago's Prime Minister to resign and to be investigated after police closed the probe into the so-called Emailgate scandal and find no evidence the allegations were true. And that's Caribbean Newsline. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again tomorrow. Good night.